Hello, the Eriskay love lilt. Everybody knows it. It was collected by Margaret Kennedy Fraser at the beginning of the century. But how many people know that where I'm standing here on Eriskay was where Prince Charlie made his first footprints in Scottish soil, and in some ways it's the place where the fate of the Highlands were sealed. It was on a July night, 1745, that Prince Charlie came in here, and it was an accident. He'd sailed for France, hoping to begin a rising to win a crown for his father. Nobody knew he was on the way, but he thought they did know, because a ship seemed to be following him, a ship with a sail up, which looked like an enemy frigate, and Charlie tried to give it the slip round the Barra Isles, and eventually he did so. So he pulled in here and was taken up to a smoky hut where he was seated in a pile of peats, given a fish, and he sat there while somebody made contact with the Laird of Boisdale across the water. And Charlie hoped to talk Boisdale into raising the clan to follow him. Well, Boisdale was a realist. He saw that Prince Charlie hadn't any money, he didn't have any troops, he had nothing behind him, and he was hoping to raise Scotland. And Boisdale told him not to be a fool, to go away back to France, that he had no future here. But while they were talking, this ship with the sail up appeared again, and this time it was in company with another. So Charlie took fright. In panic, he got aboard the ship, the conversations with Boisdale were cut short, and Charlie sailed away east to Loch na Ua, where in fact he did raise the clans at the head of Loch Shiel, and there the rising began, which ended so disastrously at Culloden. And the story of Eriskay really begins with the disasters that followed Culloden. There were only one or two people living in Eriskay when Charlie came here. The probability is it was only occupied in summer to do some fishing, because the seas are so wild here in winter time. But after the 45 was over, and these great repressions had gone on for a long time, and the land was being sold to anybody who would buy it, the Hebrides were unlucky to get a buyer in the shape of Colonel John Gordon of Cluny, the worst landowner that the Hebrides had ever known. And he started to clear them out en masse, to farm the land and turn it into sheep farms. The Hebrideans were being rounded up like cattle and put in emigrant ships to New Zealand, Nova Scotia, and wherever. Well, rather than go aboard one of these emigrant ships, people who'd been living on the shore and in caves came to Eriskay. Eriskay is only a rock, really, of 2 hills, 3 miles long by 1.5 miles broad. And they were allowed to settle here because it was thought to be too poor, even for sheep. But Eriskay is blessed with one thing. It lacks fertile land, but it's got a marvellous harbour on its eastern side. And the people who came here had to make a go of living from the sea, which they did because of the shoals of herring and the mackerel that they were able to get. They not only lived here, but they were thriving. And ever since, the people of Eriskay have pinned their faith to the sea. And I want to find out if they still do today. On the way up, I think I'm very thrilled about that. Donald McInnes, you're a fresh 75. You were born and brought up on the island of Eriskay. I'll bet you saw a very different island then from what you see now.
Oh yes, it was. It is. At that time there was only black houses, earthen floors, and fire in the middle of the floor with the smoke going through the hole in the roof. That was the kind of houses that was here at the time. It's different now in every way. People are better off than what they were at that time. And there was quite a number of people on this island at that time. There was between 400 or 500 people on this island at that time, and their livelihood was fishing, but nothing else.
What kind of fishing?
Herring fishing, cod fishing, cling fishing, and all that. All the ling and cod was cured here, spread out on the rocks in the sun in the summertime to dry, then put into bundles of 56 pounds and shipped to Lochboysel by boat, from there to the mainland by steamer. It's hard to believe the amount of salt fish that was cured here at that time. There was about, I would say about 15 boats. There would be about 40 feet overhaul for herring fishing, and smaller boats about 18 to 20 feet keel. They used them for ling fishing and cod fishing and all that. Of course, everybody had to have a boat at that time. They cut seaweed, they carried their peatsweed. The seaweed they used for their crops, for potatoes. That was their fertilizers. Well, we had flour, we baked our own bread, but our main meal was potatoes and fish. Of course, we had eggs and things like that as well, and scones baked by the women.
So you were more self-supporting then than you are now?
Oh yes, that's true, yes.
How about yourself? Did you stay in Eriskay all the time then?
I stayed here till I was 23. I was at the fishing from I was 17 up to I was 23, and then I took away to the Master Navy for a while. I came back again in 1925 and stayed another few years at the fishing, and then went back again, back and forth all the time like that, till I got married and settled down. But during the 30s, the fishing was still going on here. But the Second World War killed it altogether. All the boats here then were sold out. The young men went to the Master Navy, and the middle-aged men, when they got older, they parted with the boats. They sold them out. There was only one family here that kept up the fishing. And that family today owns 4 boats of their own.
These are the big boats?
The big boats, the big fishing boats. And there's fellows among them that's among the crew that got tickets of their own. If they would break away and get boats for themselves, it would help the island a great lot. There would be more jobs then.
So the story then is that for a time it looked as if the island was going down.
Oh yes, at that time it was going down.
That would be about 1950 or thereabouts?
Yes, I believe it was. It would be about that time. There was only that one boat fishing out of here at the time.
And thanks to that one family, their enthusiasm for fishing
That's right.
brought the island up.
Yes.
And now it's in a very prosperous harp.
It is. It's better off by a lot now than what it was. You could earn a reasonable living here, a good living, I could say. They have got good houses now, very comfortable in every way. They have got all the gadgets that's going in the houses. They have got running water. They have got a new jetty up in the harbour now that will help the fishermen a great lot.
Well, I think the future looks good.
The future does look good, yes.
The 4 boats of the Eriskay fleet are skippered by the McKinnons, and Michael McKinnon is with me now with some of the younger McKinnons. How's the fishing been, Michael?
It's been pretty good to us lately, eh? All along it's been pretty good.
And where do you do your fishing mainly?
Roughly between Barrahead and Skye, that kind of area in the Minchler.
And where do you take your fish to sell them?
It's mostly Malaga we sell it. We usually land at Skye and other ports, but it's mainly Malaga we sell the fish at.
How many are on a boat like this?
6 of us.
6. Is this an 80-foot boat?
60-foot boat.
60 feet. And is it mainly prawns?
It's prawns and white fish during the summertime, and they're going to herring in the autumn till the springtime.
And do I gather then that it was your father, Neil, who really kind of inspired the younger generation to stick to the fishing and make a go of it?
Yes, that my father and his brothers, they had a boat of their own. It's a good time back now, but that's where it all developed from.
And did you start as a boy?
As a boy, yes, when I left school.
Did you find it a hard life?
Yes, very hard. Wouldn't encourage any other young boy to do it.
Is that so?
No.
Would you not like your own
No.
wee boy here to become a fisherman?
No.
How's that now?
Well, times are easier right enough just now than when I started. But there's a lot of better jobs than the fishing.
What do you think especially bad about it, you know, from the point of view of it not being an enjoyable job?
Well, you've got the trouble of seasickness to start off when you're young.
Did you suffer from that?
I've suffered, nearly everybody that starts suffers a lot from that.
I thought it was only me.
You've got to go through that for a few years. It just takes a lot out of a young boy when you're sick and trying to work at the same time. But it's a great job on Friday night, Saturday night. Best job.
So you're home every weekend?
Home every weekend. I come home on Friday, mostly Friday nights.
And sail away when?
Sail at this job only at about 5 o'clock on Monday morning.
And that's you heading away south to Barrahead again?
Off Barrahead or off between Barrahead and Skye somewhere. That's mostly the area we're in.
And there's always enough fish there to give you a reasonable return?
Reasonable return, yes. There seems to be enough to keep us going. It's in a pretty good position at the moment, the fishing.
Great. Well, you're telling me you're going for your holidays to Glasgow?
Yeah.
This week. How long are you going for?
We'll be away for 2 or 3 weeks. Come back in middle or late July.
How will you feel about getting back?
We're great to get back, but it's great to get a big break just the same.
Well, have a good holiday.
Yes.
Good fishing when you return. The chapel was built in 1903 for Father Alan MacDonald, the most famous priest of Eriskay, folklorist, poet, scholar, and until it was opened on May the 7th, 1903, the 300 islanders only had a seatless shack for their services. Here is a poem that Father Alan wrote before he died in 1905. Eriskay of the speckled knolls and the bright white strands, 'tis there one finds strong men who are not afraid when the sea rises, and kindly, tunefully diligent women who sing more sweetly than the birds on the trees.
Donald
McInnes, tell me something about this bell you've just been ringing.
Bell was found in Scapa was 50 years under the sea there.
Oh, from a German ship?
Aye. Yes.
And then it came here to ring the Angelus for Mass?
Was taken to Fairslade.
On the Clyde?
And the priest in Oban got it and sent it to Father Colin McNeil in Northby.
And you ring it every Sunday for the Mass?
Yes, yes.
Great.
Yes.
It's rung by the second oldest inhabitant on the island, and it's a great sound to hear as you see the people wandering up the hill. The Germans would like to buy back this bell, but the Eriskay folk are not going to part with it now. The sea casts up strange things. This is the windy north tip of Eriskay, and over my shoulder in the sound of Eriskay is the island of Calvi. Now, Calvi may not mean anything to you, but think of whisky galore. That was the very place where the merchantman politician caused the happiest event of the war. It's enshrined in the gold of Hebridean memory. 20,000 cases of whisky of 32 different kinds, all within reach of the people of Eriskay, South Uist, and Barra, and many another island. And great was the coming and going of boats. Great was the merriment, and great was the excitement of the government when they found out, and in came the exciseman. At first they couldn't find anybody to take them over, and they say the man that took them over has never had any good luck since. And a few of the islanders can't remember where some of the crates that they hid on Eriskay are. But one thing is certain, everybody knows the injustice of it all. When they took away the whisky, the government officers took away what was recoverable and poured it away in Greenock as unfit for human consumption. Well, I think the islanders were right when they said it wasn't a crime. It was justice. It was the mercy of the ocean and the brightest event of the last war. I'll away this way. But there is a problem on small islands. Any island can only support a given number of people. Folks have to leave to find work, but they don't necessarily have to give up their house and croftland. And that poses a problem for the young who want to stay on Eriskay. Father John Archie McNeil is a priest on Eriskay.
Well, Tom, I dreamt for years about coming to this place, but I had come to the stage where I had given up. So know yourself, we're very much at the mercy of where we're sent to, and we just go when we're sent to. But anyway, my luck turned up at last. I landed in Eriskay, and this is called the Island of the Blessed. You've had a wee wander around it, and you know it. But it's not all rosy. It has its sad pieces too. Those sad pieces come particularly when you look around you and see vacant houses, derelict houses on the hillside, in beautiful positions, and attached to them there are little bits of crofts. The owners of many of those houses are now living in Glasgow, various parts of Glasgow. They come back at holiday time, some of them. This sometimes saddens me, particularly when I see them going away. The houses are left empty, but so also are their crofts. I personally don't grudge them the idea of their houses being there as holiday homes, but I do bear a little grudge about crofts lying there empty, because I have around me young men, particularly young fishermen, some of them living in council houses up the road there. Those people are not particularly interested in living in council houses. They are ready here and now to start building their own homes if they had the crofts to start. What do you do about that? Some move must be set up which will allow, or I think a move should be set afoot, which would allow those people to hold on to their houses as holiday houses if they so wish. But I think quite honestly that in this day and age, some pressure should be brought to bear, which would allow those crofts to be taken over by the likes of those fishermen and make them what those boys were in the past, little crofter fishermen. Let them, with the help of those grants that are available, build their own homes. Whether that will come about or not, I don't know, but it's certainly my sincerest prayer that it will. And I know that the day the land is available, there will be an impetus for other young men who are actually working away from home to come back here and to settle here. I had a phone call the other night from people who would come back tomorrow. See, in the days of some of my predecessors here, and that's not so very long ago, I was just checking up old records recently. There were over 300 people here. I am now under the 200 mark. And that's in a very short time. There are very few old people. It's most of the married people here are my own age group. I'm not going to declare you what that is. But more are ready to come, and work can be manufactured for them. Even the other night there was a company phoning from Inverness asking if it was possible to muster up even some of the women here to start an industry, which will remain nameless at the moment. The answer I had to give is there isn't as yet sufficient numbers, but we're hoping that there will be sufficient numbers of those married women and young girls coming off where they could be occupied at home all the time. Barra has come on. Battersea is very much in the picture these days. Why shouldn't Eriskay? Because everything is around it. There I'm going to leave you, because that is my part of the Eriskay story. I keep praying that some moves will be set afoot to give all those boys a chance.
Well, that's Eriskay, and Bonnie Prince Charlie did very well to get ashore on the western side, because it's more than we could do on this boat. It's a reef-infested shore. And if Charlie had taken Boisdale's advice and sailed away back to France without starting the rising, the probability is that Eriskay wouldn't be inhabited today. The people who went to it had to survive as a community. And that community spirit still survives today in prosperity. The island of the Speckled Knolls, and it's one I'll go back to. A very easy island to reach if you go to Loch Boisdale, across a narrow sound and a ferry, and you're there.